Hello and welcome to my video. Here in front of me I present to you my Frankenstein iPhone 5. This is an iPhone 5 inside of an iPhone 5s shell or housing. As you can see, I have a Touch ID button. It's not actually working as a Touch ID button, it's just for aesthetics. But this is a real iPhone 5s button, not some fake ones you can find for $1 or $2 on eBay or Amazon. No, this is the real deal, the sapphire glassed one. It doesn't get scratched. It works exactly like the original home button of the iPhone 5. So let me turn this phone around. As you can see on the flash there, I hope you can see it if my camera decides to focus. You can see it's actually an iPhone 5s flash unit, the True Tone one, but only this one has just one LED in it, so it is an iPhone 5. So why I did this project? Well, I had this iPhone 5 and I received it from somebody and it was scuffed up. It has scratches all over the place. It got dents in the corners because it was being dropped several times. The screen was popping out on the side. It was a white unit, so when you start up the phone, the screen will be white with a black Apple logo. I went on Google and searched how to do this job, how to install an iPhone 5 into an iPhone 5s housing. But I couldn't find anything. There was no relevant information out there, just people said it could not be done. I don't understand why, because I did it, and that's why I am making this video. It's a really cool DIY project. If you have an iPhone 5 laying around and you have some iPhone 5s shells like the one here, in 2 hours you can perform this installation. Of course you have to do some kind of modifications to get the parts of the iPhone 5 inside this iPhone 5s, but if you do it correctly it will all come together really nice. So how do you start? Well, I have an iPhone 5s shell here. As you can see, this one also has been dropped. It has scuffs, it has scratches. It looks horrible, but this was my test housing. What you need to do, there are several things. First of all, you need to remove these 3 motherboard posts. Don't worry, there are still enough screws to keep the motherboard in place. And actually, it's a little bit safer to install a motherboard only with these screws than with all of them. Because when your phone will flex a little bit, the motherboard have some free space to move around. So the motherboard itself will not get bent. So you will not have any touch IC disease or TriStar or whatever kind of problem. So what you need to do, you can see on this housing there are a little bit of bends, but these bends are occurred from the inside. Why? Because I ripped these posts out with a set of pliers like this one. I took pliers and I ripped them out, but that's not a good idea. But it was just for testing purposes. So I ripped them out, sand them down, and the motherboard, if I put it in here, it will sit flush. Now, the second thing you need to do, if you install the buttons, is here you will have the vibration motor. You will have to slide the cable a millimeter or 2 on the left so that this screw hole will become available. This is a very important screw. Why? Because it's part of the Wi-Fi signal. There is a little bracket that goes from the vibration motor to the Wi-Fi antenna, and that needs to be there. Why? Because the Wi-Fi antenna connects with this bracket to this antenna piece over here. So don't forget that. The second thing to get the GPS working, the iPhone 5 actually has a screw here where my finger here is, and a screw hole next to it on the left side. This screw hole is for the power button, and this screw hole is for the vibration motor. But on a 5 there are 4 holes instead of 3. The second thing you need to do is to take the second wire and bend it over on the right side and put a screw through the 2 wires and install it that way. With this method, your Wi-Fi and your GPS signal will work. And the third thing you have to do is, when you install the dock connector, that's the part where the speaker is, your microphone, your headphone jack, and your connector for charging. When you install this, you will have to put a screw in here, but the speaker itself is gonna be too big. Why? Because of 2 reasons. The iPhone 5 speaker is smaller, but the iPhone 5S, but the iPhone 5 speaker has a piece of plastic that's normally in a 5 shell. It's sticking under the motherboard. That piece of plastic, you have to break it off. And here on this side you see the screw hole. On an iPhone 5 the screw hole is more that way. So what you need to do is take a piece of sandpaper and sand the speaker down a little bit. So, and then you will see it will fit nicely. Why you need to sand it down? Because this screw hole will otherwise not be available. And when you're gonna put the screen down, the screw hole of the screen will jam against the speaker. So if you sand that down a little bit on the right side, just a little bit, it will fit nicely, and you can put in all the screws of the dock connector. Don't forget your Bluetooth antenna. For a better Bluetooth signal, I used the iPhone 5S Bluetooth antenna. Why? Because it has a piece of metal underneath. The iPhone 5 just uses an antenna that goes from here around the headphone jack to here. But the iPhone 5S antenna goes all the way around and underneath the headphone jack. So, and then you can start putting in components. Don't forget your buttons, your silent switch, your vibration motor, your motherboard. Your bracket will fit here because the motherboard will be held down with this screw, and this screw. This one right here. That's enough to keep the motherboard in place, and it's going nowhere, trust me. It's not flapping around, it sits perfectly fine. But you have to sand down these 3 posts. So I can prove to you that this is an iPhone 5, because some people will think that I'm pulling a prank or something, but I'm actually not. I'm very serious about this. Let's connect up this phone. Let's go to iTunes and pull up my phone's information. I will hide my serial number and my phone number, and as you can see, here it says iPhone 5, a 16GB model running iOS 10.3.3. So there you have it, an iPhone 5 inside an iPhone 5S shell. It's really cool. Everybody thinks I have an iPhone 5S or an SE, but actually I'm still rocking a jailbroken iPhone 5. So I can do anything I want with this phone. It's an amazing phone. I put in a new battery. It's gonna last the whole day. This phone is amazing, trust me. And especially it's a very special device now. It's very beautiful. It turns out just the way I want it to. So yeah, that's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.